Hey everyone, welcome back for another episode of the Moreno Show. I want to talk about two things that happened in the world today. For one, President Trump wore a blue suit to Pope Francis's funeral, and a lot of people had a problem with it, even though so many other world leaders actually wore blue as well. But that didn't stop the entire left in making a mockery out of this event and somehow having a problem with this. So I want us to talk about that a little bit because so many people actually called out this hypocrisy, which is just great. But I also wanted to talk about this iconic meeting that could potentially be historic between President Trump and Zelensky in the Vatican. So I thought this was really interesting, and there are some takes here that are actually making some pretty good points. I also want us to go into something that President Trump wrote on Truth Social this morning. I think this is all really important. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Also, guys, if you like having conversations like this, if you think they matter, please consider liking and subscribing. And they're one of the best ways you can help me out. Okay, check. So to start off, I really love this post by Lori Love. The caption is a propaganda versus reality. And again, look at this post by Fortune magazine. The headline is the Vatican asked the Pope Francis funeral attendees to wear all black. Trump wore a blue suit. Now, I think what's important here is look at how deceptive this photo is cropped. Okay, because it does show President Trump right in the middle next to Melania and shows everyone else wearing a blue suit. If you just saw this image, you would think, "Oh my gosh, how dare President Trump? This is a disgusting act. Who wears blue to a funeral? This is terrible." If you just saw that, but you know what happens? Like sometimes our optics are like this, and this could be how we filter reality. But as you guys know, this crop doesn't tell the whole story ever, really. And that's why it's important to see beyond the headline. And here in this other picture showing pretty much President Trump, Melania again, right there. But when you zoom out, so many other people are wearing blue. You have this woman here in a blue dress. You have other leaders across the world wearing blue, embracing blue. We even have President Biden wearing some form of blue as well. You see President Biden right here next to Dr. Jill, right? He's wearing a blue tie, and it kind of looks like he's wearing like, I don't know, I don't wanna say he's wearing a blue suit, but it does make him look like he's wearing, like, a dark blue-ish suit, but I also know that the sun is, yeah, shining, like, very, very bright on them, but a lot of people have a problem with this, but I also love that a lot of people are also calling out kind of how ridiculous this entire conversation is because there are more important things to talk about, of course. But I always try to make it a point that whenever I'm figuring out what to talk about in these videos, I'm like, I think what's important to talk about is what everyone else is talking about. Like we try to have the biggest conversations that are happening in the political arena, and this is like it is absolutely one of the more talked about moments today. So I saw this from Natalie F. Danelison. Right on. Someone to tell me in the comments if I'm saying that right. But they say, I'm seeing a post like Trump wore a blue suit, OMG, and yet I see a sea of blue suits. Meanwhile, Zelensky didn't even wear a suit. And there you go. Zelensky is wearing a button up shirt with kind of like an overshirt that is black. And then, yeah, President Trump right there. Look at that. You have other people. This one went viral almost 300 over 300,000 views. Of course, Trump is the only jackbutt wearing a blue suit and blue tie to a funeral. Such an embarrassment. Yeah, and as you guys know, he wasn't at all. But I love this post because right underneath the Lori Love one of the top comments actually shows President Biden in, a little bit of blue, I would say. But her response was libs when they find out Joe Biden also wore a blue suit. And it's this gif of a man just being just blind, right? Like, what did I miss? And I thought that was hilarious. People like Harry Sisson, someone one of the more radical voices on the left, who is also just incredibly loud these days. He says President Biden at the Pope's funeral in Italy today. Awesome that he's there. Biden is a good, decent man who cares about others deeply. And there you have President Biden. Yeah, wearing a definitely a blue tie. Not sure what color shoe it is. Sometimes it looks dark blue, sometimes it looks like a lighter black. Not entirely sure. You can let me know what you think about all this. But again, this is just so much of this is just noise. Saw this from Southern FFA family. The meltdowns over President Donald Trump wearing a blue suit to Pope Francis' funeral are nothing but comical. Looks to me like numerous leaders chose to wear blue. At least they're wearing suits, unlike Zelensky. So a lot of people are also they're just taking this opportunity to attack President Zelensky. But I think what's terrible about this really is that something more significant happened today. Something that was actually good, something that could hopefully push humanity forward. I would say whenever we talk about these other, maybe more comical moments, it actually just ends up taking away from actual things that are just happening that are important. We had this meeting between President Trump and Zelensky in the Vatican this morning, and I think we really should talk about it just a little bit. I saw this scene by NBC News, and I think they did a pretty good job of summarizing it. So I want to go to play for about a minute 30, but just check this out, and then we'll go into other perspectives afterwards.
With world leaders gathering for the papal funeral at the Vatican, a peace summit of sorts for President Trump and Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky. The two leaders face to face, seated inches apart inside St. Peter's Basilica for a 15-minute one-on-one about Ukraine's war with Russia. The White House calling it a very productive discussion. Zelensky later saying,
productive meeting. I don't want to go to a lot of details.
And on social media, laying out his priorities from that meeting: protecting lives of our people, full and unconditional ceasefire, and reliable and lasting peace, adding that the meeting has the potential to become historic.
No position to dictate.
A far cry from their last historic meeting in the Oval Office back in February.
You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right.
The new tone comes just days after a Russian missile and drone assault on Kyiv. President Trump condemning the strikes that left at least a dozen people dead before sounding an optimistic tone about a Friday meeting between his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and Russia's Vladimir Putin.
I think we're pretty close. No deadline. I just want to do it as fast as possible.
Trump then following up that comment while flying home from Rome today with skepticism, posting, "There was no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian areas," and adding, "It makes me think that maybe he doesn't want to stop the war."
Aaron Gilchrist is in New Jersey, where the
But I do want to share this tweet from this truth. I'm not sure what they call them on Truth Social. I think they call them truths. So this is a truth that President Trump has shared. And I'll just go ahead and read it. No matter what deal I make with respect to Russia and Ukraine, no matter how good it is, even if it's the greatest deal ever made, the failing New York Times will speak badly of it. Little Peter Baker, the very biased and untalented writer for the Times, followed his editor's demands and wrote that Ukraine should get back territory, including, I suppose, Crimea, and other ridiculous requests in order to stop the killing and the killing that is worse than anything since World War II. Why doesn't this lightweight reporter say that it was Obama who made it possible for Russia to steal Crimea from Ukraine without even a shot being fired? It was also little Peter who wrote an absolute fawning yet terribly written biography on Obama. It was a joke. Did a Baker even criticize the Obama Crimea giveaway? No, not once. Only Trump. And I've had nothing to do with this stupid war other than early on when I gave Ukraine javelins and Obama gave them sheets. This is sleepy Joe Biden's war, not mine. It was a loser from day one and should have never happened and wouldn't have happened if I were president at the time. I'm just trying to clean up the mess that was left to me by Obama and Biden. And what a mess it is. With all of that being said, there was no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian areas, cities, and towns over the last few days. It makes me think that maybe he doesn't want to stop the war. He's just tapping me along. That has to be dealt with differently through banking, secondary sanctions. Too many people are dying. That's how he answered. Too many people are dying. Wow. So now after that, I do want us to go into some of the perspectives that I've seen on this. Some people are saying a picture is truly worth 1,000 words. At Pope Francis' funeral, Zelensky is making one last desperate attempt to convince Trump to fund his war. Trump is once again telling him that the jig is up. Historic scenes at the Vatican. There's that one photo that I shared earlier. I also saw this. If you're interested in psychology and body language, you're probably going to appreciate this. Ben Swan says total power move. Zelensky attempts to meet with Trump at St. Peter's Basilica, but wanted President Macron there as well. 3 chairs were set up when Trump arrived. Then he tells Macron to leave and that he'll meet with Zelensky one on one. This is how you end the war. Cut out to those who want to keep it prolonged and a deal with Zelensky and Putin directly. And you could see this video right here. There's no sound in this clip, but wow, look at that. You can see 3 chairs are totally laid out for all 3 of them. And President Trump looks like he's saying, actually, I kind of want to have a kind of just want to do this one on one if possible. So there you have it. Very, very interesting development. Another perspective here is Trump speaking to Zelensky looks like a father disciplining his kid for misbehaving in the Vatican. Do you see that? Kind of close. Kind of close. And this is from the White House. The White House says President Trump sat down to meet privately with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky in St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican City, this morning. There we go. And again, according to NBC, the White House did say it was a very productive meeting. So who knows? If you ask me, this is a much more important conversation that I think it should have been had at a higher frequency than what President Trump wore today. All right, and I'm telling you, this is just like all these things did huge numbers, but I'm really interested in this. I'm really excited about how this develops. I'm with President Trump here. Like people are dying. Too many people are dying. Maybe this is a war that shouldn't have ever happened. And it seems like President Trump is one of the only people who are really, really committed to finding actual solutions here. So I'm enthusiastic. Something else I'm fairly enthusiastic about is I saw this other post from the White House as well, celebrating America's first lady, Melania Trump. 20 of our favorite photos are below, and look at this. This has 1.6 million views, and it is Melania in the chopper. So good, and it's just a thread of some iconic photos, and just really, really wholesome stuff. Wow. I love it. We talk a lot about this concept of making America human again, and what's more human than celebrating another person's life? So, and I don't know, birthday. It's one of the only opportunities where you could actually take time to really celebrate someone. So I don't want to take this lightly. I think it's awesome. What a photo! Are you kidding me? That is crazy. I don't think I've ever seen this one before. This is awesome. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this conversation in the comment section, and I will see you all next time. Hope you guys have the best, most wonderful day. Episode's over already? Geez, that was fast. Well, they say beautiful things do not last forever, but feel free to watch and listen to another one of these episodes if you're interested in those conversations as well. Also, this next part is huge. Make sure to obliterate that like and subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never skip a beat. I also have a newsletter where we dive into the news, politics, and ideas that shape our future. If you're interested in signing up, I'd really appreciate that. Anyways, that's the end of this episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll see you next time.